Let's go live now to Canberra. The Federal Education Minister Dan Tehan joins us now. Dan Tehan, thank you for your time. Of course, there's a number of students, international students, caught up in this crisis. Do we know how many will miss returning to university?
Well, Laura, we know that there will be a considerable number, but we'll be doing everything we can to work with universities to limit the impact that this has on our international student education. I'll be meeting with representatives from the UA board today. I'll also be meeting with representatives of the task force that we set up to deal with this issue and the impact of the bushfires on our international education sector. So we'll be doing everything we can to minimise the impact.
Okay, but we don't know how many at the moment. Have you spoken with universities? Do they have contingency plans in place that perhaps their studies can continue online?
Absolutely. We've been working with the universities over the last week or so. They will be putting in place contingencies around online learning, remote learning. We'll be also talking to the regulator, TEXA, which regulates universities, so we can relax some of these requirements while we're dealing with the coronavirus. So we'll be looking to put maximum flexibility in place to enable the sector to deal with this issue as best it can.
This is our second or third largest export. How concerned are you about the impact this will have on the economy, Mr. Tehan?
Well, I mean, there will be an impact on the economy, and the Treasurer has made that clear. What we need to do is do everything we can to minimise that impact, and that's why I'll be working very constructively with the sector to make sure that we're doing all we can to minimise that impact.
Do you have any updated information as to the Qantas plane that it's gone to pick up some Australian citizens? How many people will be taking up that offer to be evacuated from Wuhan and then be quarantined on Christmas Island?
Look, I don't. Obviously, the Foreign Minister has been handling this, but can I just say, as a former DFAT official, to those consular officials who have gone into Wuhan and are dealing with this matter, I commend them for the job that they're doing on behalf of our nation. These are obviously very difficult situations, but those consular officials on the ground are working round the clock to make sure that this assisted evacuation goes as smoothly as possible. And I just say to them, on behalf of the Australian government, thank you for your efforts.
Well, you're praising DFAT this morning. It seems that DFAT was thrown under the bus by your government yesterday by saying they gave the incorrect information about this nominal charge for passengers. Who was right? I mean, departments give advice. It's up to Prime Ministers and governments to take it, isn't it?
Well, when, as I've been a DFAT official previously, if someone gives advice that's wrong, then you have to accept that advice was wrong, it was made erroneously, and you just get on with it, and that's what the government has done.
Was it incorrect advice, or did the government just put in place this charge without really fully realising I guess, the reaction to that?
No, the government was advised that this was the normal precedent that takes place with these types of assisted evacuations. Now, that advice was wrong. I mean, I think really this is just such a side issue compared to what is going on at the moment, what our officials are doing over there on the ground. There was a piece of advice that was wrong. We've all moved on from it. Everyone is focused on the really important matter, and that's making sure we can do everything we can to help those Australians who are in Wuhan.
Okay, we will move on then. Let's look at other issues. Your Nationals partners seem to be in a bit of a spot of bother at the moment after the resignation of Bridget McKenzie yesterday. Has this, in your view, caused some leadership instability that you don't need?
Well, obviously, you know, my heart goes out to Bridget McKenzie. She's paid a big sacrifice, but she's done the responsible thing, and I say to her, thank you for doing the right thing by the government. They are very, very difficult decisions that need to be made. In terms of where the National Party goes from here, that's up to them. These matters are one for their party room. We need to respect that, and I'll be doing that.
You're not the first minister to say it's completely up to the Nationals this morning. Is there some caution from your end about Liberals seem to be meddling in National Party affairs? Is that a sensitivity?
Well, it's a sensitivity when Nationals are seen as meddling in Liberal Party affairs, and it's a sensitivity when it comes to us doing it with the National Party. We obviously get on incredibly well. I've got very good friends in the National Party. We work very well together as a coalition, but when it comes to these things, we need to respect each other's independence and ensure that these matters, in this instance, are left up to the National Party.
You've been glowing Bridgette McKenzie this morning. You said she's paid a big sacrifice, but wasn't this of her own making, or do you think she's been treated harshly?
No, look, in the end, she's had to own up for the errors that she's made, but she's done that, and I think she should be commended for that. That she has said, yes, I've made a mistake, and she's resigned.
Well, she's only admitted, Dan Tehan, that she made a mistake in not declaring her gun club membership. It didn't extend beyond that. Is that the only thing she's done wrong here?
Well, there was a finding that the ministerial standards were breached, and she's owned up to that. And anyone who owns up to individual mistakes that they've made and resigns as a cabinet minister, I think she's done a commendable thing, and I think we should acknowledge that. What
about the sports grants program? There are huge problems with that, aren't there, as you see them?
Well, what the Prime Minister has made very clear that we'll accept the recommendations of the Auditor-General, and in particular when it comes to transparency. And I think that's the right thing for the government to do. And the Prime Minister's been very clear. We're accepting that recommendation. We're going to put in place the procedures that need to be in place now to make sure that there is greater transparency. And I look forward to that very successful program continuing, because it's providing incredibly important outcomes, especially to sporting organisations right around regional and rural Australia.
Okay, Minister Dan Tehan, appreciate your time this morning.
Pleasure, Laura.